Okay, so today I'm working on the Jeep because I should have my tags on it any day now, and I'll start driving it. So that is the four-wheel drive shifter. I took it out. There's the cap or plug, if you want to call it that. So why am I putting a shifter in a two-wheel drive? Simple. This thing is such a pain in the ass to get out, this console and the carpeting, everything, that I wanted to put it in before I put it back together. Because you got to pull the seat, you got to do all this stuff in order to get the center console out. So, put the shifter in, forget about it. And then when I get the parts to convert this thing over, it'll be there, and I just have to, hook the linkage up to it, and there we go, we're done. I don't have to take all this back apart again. So I had to go wash this because it was nasty. I don't know if it was still dirty from sitting 12 years with the window down, or if it was dirty from sitting in the garage. Either way, it's clean. It's not in great shape though. It's pretty chalky, and all these little things here are broken, like this. It's very brittle. This is stuck. It says no smoking, but it's bakelite, so it's like an ashtray. I don't know. I don't smoke, so it doesn't matter. So anyway, I'll get this thing back in and start getting it all buttoned back up. The one thing I don't have, this is where the shifter goes, the four-wheel drive shifter goes. I don't have the faceplate to tell you what gear it's in. I'll get that later, but I do have it for the shifter here. Alrighty, back to work. Okay, back out here on the Cherokee. I need to get lots of things put together. I need to get this door panel, the dust sealer, whatever it's called, put on, get the speaker put on and wired, get the door panel put back on. I need to pop that door panel off, change the speaker, get it wired, and then I need to wire the two in the back. But before that, I need to fix the overhead console. The temperature isn't working. So I came down here and I started looking at the wiring here. So as you can see, it's a mess. But what I did learn is we got a purple here. The plug up under the dashboard that you can't even see without probably this camera. There's another purple wire over here in the corner. And directly below it is the black wire, which I think goes to the sensor. So that's why it's not working. We're going to unpin this wire, put it over there, and unpin the black wire, put it there, and then hopefully it should work. Okay, so disappointing development. This is a ZJ overhead console, so Grand Cherokee. I think it's 97, 98. And of course, this is a 2000 XJ Cherokee. So what I learned is that the Cherokee doesn't use a body control module. So with the Grand Cherokee, everything goes through the body control module and it spits out the information to be read in the console. With the Cherokee, it does basically the same thing without a module, except the outside temperature thermometer goes straight from the sensor up to the console. Well, unfortunately, this thing is not made to work that way. So everything runs in it except the thermometer. So I can live with that. It annoys me, but I can live with that. I need to get this whole button back up though. I need to tuck these wires in. I need to put the dealio back in. Call it good. So I think that's it for that. Let me get started on these speakers. So now that I've got the Cherokee back on the road and it's legal, I'm going to take care of some of the maintenance that I haven't done yet. One of which was a hell of a vibration going down the highway. I assumed that the U-joints were probably pretty dry, but I don't see any kind of a Zerk fitting on it, which is weird because the owner's manual says you're supposed to grease them every so often. Okay, so I just noticed this. Look at that cap is outside. That's not down all the way. Look at that cap. It's way inside. It's pretty good far off centered. So I'm guessing that when they blew it up and towed it home, the tow truck driver, somebody pulled the shaft, thank God. And this is how they put it back together. So we're going to pull this all loose, take it apart, and I'm going to go ahead and just throw some grease in those two caps and put it back together. Alrighty. I got all that old glue off. I need to wipe it down right now. I used a little brass wire brush. That worked out pretty well. So that's the next step. Wipe it down, make sure all the stuff's off. I used a leaf blower to kind of blow it off because I was afraid that using a compressed air might blow a hole in it. This stuff is so delicate. I've got the headliner material sitting on the roof of the Volvo because instead of rolling it, they packed it into that box right there. So it ended up having folds in it. Lovely. And then I need to put a little bitty hole up there for the wiring for the overhead console. And then hopefully that won't be seen from the outside. I've already laid that thing on there, it covers it, but I don't want to see it. Anyway, off to the next one. Oh, it's been a minute since I've done anything on this Jeep. Or actually, it hasn't, but it's been a minute since I filmed anything on this Jeep. So, the last video I shot, we left off with the headliner. That is obviously finished. I probably should have went a couple stages, or a couple shades darker maybe. But I wanted the light colors as a contrast so that light could bounce around in here and, you know, you wouldn't have those dark shadows. So on this, instead of covering it with this material, I painted it the charcoal, which is going to be on the outside as well. The visors are still in good shape, so I left them. I think that one's got one little spot on it, but anyway. There was a couple of spots, because the company that makes it put them in a box, you ended up with folds. They folded it instead of rolling it. And so this was, they really show up on camera. They don't look that bad in person, but so you ended up having the folds here pretty easily. That's why those are there. And it was a little difficult. You can kind of see there where it's not real attached. It was real tough getting around the back of those. But all in all, I mean, well, I kind of wish I wouldn't have gone with the suede look because it leaves marks really easy, which aren't really there, but it's just the way it's kind of folded. So what I really need to do is get something in here and kind of comb it all in one direction so that you don't see it. Anyway, so that's that. So you might remember that the reason this Jeep was parked anyway is because the water pump was failing, and they just kept putting cool water in it, and then it failed completely and overheated the engine to the point that it shut down. And got a new water pump in it, and it was still running hot, so he replaced the fan clutch, and that didn't fix it, and so they parked it. And so when I got it, I had to put a fuel pump in it because it'd been sitting for 10 years. I had to clean it all out because that window regulator was bad, and that window was down for 10 years, and all the dust and rain and everything came in. So I had to pull this entire interior out, took it down to the car wash, shampooed the seats, shampooed the carpet, and washed everything else. So I put a new radiator in it, put thermostat in it, and, you know, it was running exactly the way the guy told me it was going to run. And so I put some Blue Devil in it, and that seemed to fix it for a while. And I drove it last winter, spring, into the summer, and then one day it got real hot on me, overheated, and so I parked it. And I had bought a head for it. I just had never put it on. So I went ahead, we did that. I put the head on it. We found the old head was full of something that looked like plaster. I'm guessing it was a stop leak, maybe that Blue Devil I put in it, maybe previous owner, I don't know. So that was mostly in the head. I had my buddy do it for me. He blew out the cooling jackets, got them all clean, put the new head on it, and it was still running hot. It was running hotter than I liked, and day 3 it overheated. I did my test by kicking it down, foot to the throttle, and then of course the temperature gauge would peg. So I did a hydrocarbons test on it, and there's no hydrocarbons. It passed. So what could it be? I went ahead and changed the water pump, and the water pump was terrible, and you can see here. So it had the pits on the bottom. The impeller wasn't in bad shape, but the pump was bad, and the bypass was plugged. And so that explained why the heater didn't work, or didn't work hardly at all. I went ahead, I made sure it was burp, no air trapped in there. Nothing I did would fix it. And so finally I went ahead and I ran my borescope down the radiator, and you can see that the fins were blocked, or the tubes were blocked. With what? I don't know. So I got another radiator for it, put it all back together, and it still runs hotter than I think it should run, but it's not overheating. It gets to a certain point and stops, but where it should be running close to the thermostat, it's running 200 degrees. Or 195. I got a 180 degree thermostat in here. It's running 190. So I don't know. We're just going to keep an eye on it. I'm just going to drive it. Maybe 5. Ooh. So right now I'm here on my lunch break. I'm filming it. Hopefully this thing will be good. My main reason for having it is if my mobility keeps going the way it's going, I'm not going to be able to drive a stick shift. I might not be able to drive old cars, that everything's manual on. I mean, this thing has power disc brakes, it has power steering, it has power windows, automatic, cruise control if I can make it work. And the height that it's at is just about perfect for me to get right into. I don't have to go down into it. I don't have to climb up into it. I don't have to work myself in under the steering wheel. It's like perfect. So, I think I joked to somebody who said this was my wheelchair. But that might be true. Who knows? So that's the only reason why I really want to have this 100%. I figured it would probably last me forever, being as it's only got 100,000 miles on it. But regardless, I'll be driving it. I mean, it gets 16.5 miles to the gallon. It's great, but right now I'm down to the Cricket and the Mazda, maybe, and this, maybe. The Mazda's running hot too. I'm going to pull the radiator and flush it, which the temperature tanked. It was 80 degrees, and then it was 52 degrees, and right now it's 45. It's supposed to hit in the 20s tonight, so hopefully the Mazda won't freeze. When I get home, I'm going to pull the drain plug on the radiator. I think it's just got water in it. I'm just going to let it run. I needed to flush the radiator, but I had to wait to get this thing done first. So anyway, that's it for this truck, this Cherokee, for, I don't know, indefinitely. If something interesting happens to it, I'll film it, Like if I convert it to 4-wheel drive or lift it or something, I'll film it. Other than that, I'm just going to drive it. That's all. I'll see you next time.